The first step in successful TPMS is to have a complete diagnostic and relearn tool.
Well, these are the electrical tools, and these are the mechanical tools, right?
There's two parts to the TPMS sensor. One is the electronics, which transmit the data to the vehicle, and the other one is the hard parts that fasten the unit to the wheel itself. So we've got a complete mechanical tool set available as well. Torque wrench for the nut. We've got torque wrenches for the valve core itself. A lot of people don't realize there is torque to a valve core. So that's one good thing. We also have all the other torque wrenches available for the snap-in sensors. We've got the T10 torque tool here. We've got the Baru torque tool as well in here. And these are all preset torques. They're all breakaway. So when I'm done, they break off, so there's no over-torquing on any of these items as well. Grommet removal and installation tool in here as well too, as well as a good digital tire gauge. How the system is set up is that if the pressure drops below 25% of what's placarded here, then that will trip our light on the particular vehicle. Now we do have two types of lights that we can have. We can have a solid light, which indicates a pressure issue, or we can have a flashing light, which indicates a system issue. That's actually a malfunction indicator light when it's flashing. That could be as simple as a bad sensor. These sensors do have batteries in them that last about 100,000 miles. Or it could be code stored in the computer. So we could have a computer issue as well. So the second thing that we would need to do would be to check and see if we have any of those lights on in the dash of this vehicle.
And in this case we do. We have a solid light, tire pressure monitoring light, which indicates low pressure, and we have the mill light on as well.
This particular vehicle too actually tells us exactly what location that pressure is at, correct, Jim?
That is right. The driver information panel says it's the right front tire and it's at 24 psi.
Okay, that's great information to have there, but we don't know if this vehicle has ever been taken to a shop, had the tires rotated, and whether that position is actually correct or not. So one thing about our tool, when we go around, we'll actually verify those pressures and we'll be able to determine if that is exactly the tire that's actually low, or if it's a different tire and it has never been relearned after the tires have been rotated. So we do need to determine what year the vehicle is, and we recommend getting it off the VIN number by using the 10th digit of the VIN number. This is a D, which tells me that it's a 2013 Chevrolet Malibu, so I can set my tool up accordingly. But what we want to do first is do a visual inspection on this valve stem. You see this particular one, it's missing the cap. That can cause us some issues because road grime and corrosives can get into that valve stem. So this is a snap-in valve, so it's a rubber valve stem, brass and rubber. Not as critical as some of the clamp-in valve stems with the aluminum nut and aluminum stem. These are real susceptible to road salts and road corrosion, so you want to make sure and inspect these very closely as going forward. Especially on this type, if it is missing a cap, that corrosion gets in there and it will degrade that aluminum a lot faster than it will the brass valve core. So you want to make sure and inspect that very closely. So what we need to do is just set it up for this particular vehicle. It's all make, model, and year driven. So we go into Chevrolet. We go into our Malibu, which is our model for this year, and 2013, which we know it's a 13 because of the VIN number. Now I activate that. The tool tells you what to do next. What I need to do is I need to go down, hold the tool at the tire, and hit our center test button. And what we're going to do here is we're going to activate that sensor to make sure that it's working correctly. As you can see here, it gives us the pressure that sensor is broadcasting out to the computer on this vehicle, which is 40 psi. We know that that's wrong because of the door placard in there was 35. So we do know we have a pressure issue here, but we need to continue our test to figure out what else might be wrong with this vehicle. You see, after we get that pressure, we know the sensor is broadcasting, so the tool will automatically move around to the next tire that we need to do, which is our right front tire.
Now, Steve, this is the tire that the driver information panel says is the bad one, right?
Yes, it is. So let's just confirm or deny that. What can happen with some of these vehicles, if this was taken into a shop and the tires were rotated and it never was relearned, that driver information panel could be giving us false information. But as you see by this tool, it verifies that the driver information panel at this point was correct. So.
All right, well, let's get the other two done.
Okay, and then we can go ahead and do our relearn and we can get this car out of here.
Well, Steve, show us how to do the audit report.
Great. As you can see, we've collected all the data from the sensors here on the tool, but we need a way to store that collected and be able to print it out to use as a sales tool for our customers to show them that they've got TPMS issues. Our Tech 500 communicates wirelessly with a laptop computer or a desktop computer. It comes with everything you need to communicate wirelessly with that. All we need to do is go into our audit reports, and I set the tool up and I hit send, and as you can see, our audit reports will pop right up there on the screen as to the date we did them. We've even got a feature over here where we can print this information out, or you can actually save it to your computer into a file. All the information that we've collected out of these sensors shows up on this audit report. So we can use it as a sales tool or as a limit your liability tool if we do an audit report after the relearn.
So once again, it's very important to do the audit report before we touch anything, and that's the whole point.
Well, now what we have to do is we have to relearn this vehicle to make sure that the car knows that all the sensors are in the correct location. As we can see by the dash, we've corrected our pressures, so now we have to do the relearn on this. This particular vehicle is what's called a stationary relearn, which means I have to put the car into relearn mode and then activate the sensors so that the car can recognize them as I activate them going around.
Right.
So let me walk you through the steps on this particular vehicle. There's no need to panic about the relearn steps because they are all right on board on the tool. It'll walk you through every step. So in this particular Malibu, I go to where I get the picture of the tires on the dash, and then I hold the set clear button on the end of the turn signal lever, and then it asks me if I want to relearn the tires, and I arrow up to yes, and I press that button again. And as you can hear, the horn honks at me and tells me now I'm ready to do relearn, and my tool at the same time has told me to go to the left front. And we're going to go around and do it just exactly like we did on the test before you touch.
So Steve, step 6 is really about documentation, right?
That's correct. We used our audit report from our test before you touch as a sales tool to help us sell the TPMS job to the customer. The audit report after we do the relearn is more to limit our liability. With this report in our records, we know that when that vehicle left this shop, everything was correct. So if the customer does come back with another TPMS issue, we know that it's not an existing issue or something that we missed going down the road. We've got all our data here, the lights off on the vehicle, and so now we're ready to go.
So there you have it, the 6 steps to successful TPMS programming. This is a great way to make this a profit center for your business.